I started August 31st of 1999. I came in to work under Dick Chichester, who was retiring as general manager, and then in January 1st of 2000 was when I started as general manager, and later the title became changed to president and chief executive officer, but all same responsibilities, all the same thing. I was completing my MBA at University of Wisconsin and working full-time, and at the time that Dick Chichester was getting ready to retire, John Beckman, who was formerly of Apple Notch Holsteins, bred a lot of great bulls, called me and said, "This is a position you need to apply for." And so really the turning point became when the board of directors interviewed me, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to take on this challenge and this responsibility. Well, I'm a person who grew up wanting to dairy farm and work with my family, and the opportunity just didn't present itself. But my real passion is dairy cattle and registered cattle, and my other passion is the people that own them. And so this job fits very well in with who I am and what my passions are, and the opportunity to work with a great board of directors and to serve the customer base. I see my family when I see those people out there that are working hard every day, taking care of cattle all across the country and in other countries. They're all the very same kind of people in my mind. Well, I think that the advice I would give them is learn from every job that you have, because you have to work your way up through every company that you start with, and you learn just as much in those early jobs in learning what the customer wants and how they want to be treated and how you can help them. And I think that just helps you down the road. It's not a step, any position in this company is critically important to the success, and if you learn at every step of the way, it just gives you a lot more ability to be successful when you're in new positions of more responsibility. The biggest challenge I have is research and development. And there's the one part of research which is what are tools that you could actually go out and apply and make faster progress. But it's another decision to know which tools are going to be accepted by the customer and which tools are going to be accepted by the end customer, which is the purchaser of dairy products and beef products, and knowing how all of those fit. And it's very difficult because one is a cooperative, you need to invest wisely. We don't have unlimited resources, and the second part is to invest in technologies that are actually going to be able to be applied. I think the first and foremost has been genomics is certainly changing the industry very rapidly, and I would combine that with sex semen because they came to the industry at about the same time. And genomics speeds the ability of the industry to identify great bulls and to propagate those, and I think that has changed the industry dramatically. The second part, adding sex semen into that, is where you can actually deliver the gender of the animal that you're looking to, and I think that's going to continue to have an increased influence in the industry. And it's twofold, because in traditional conventional semen, we only deliver 25% of the desired result, which is to get high genetic offspring out of the top end of your herd. And when you think about just conventional semen, you get 25% spread across your entire herd. And with sex semen, if we're able to continue to improve the fertility on it, it's going to allow us to get a greater percentage of our offspring out of the top portion of the herd and make genetic progress faster. So when you combine that with genomics, I think that's the great opportunity in the industry, but it's also the great challenge, because these young genomic bulls produce maybe a quarter to a fifth of the amount of semen that a large mature bull can produce. And those are the bulls that we continue to get more and more pressure on providing semen from that end of our lineup and our genetic offering, and it suddenly becomes a huge challenge in terms of production space, efficiency, all of those things, in addition to they just simply can't make enough sperm cells to supply all the demand that would be out there. Well, with it being our 50-year anniversary, I've spent a lot of time looking at our history, and the major turning point for Select Sires was the acquisition of Elevation. Now that takes everybody way back, and people don't understand why, because Elevation, yes, was a great bull, but the reason he was a turning point was you had 10 cooperatives that were the owner of this new production and research entity called Select Sires. And those 10 cooperatives all were struggling financially because it was in the infancy of AI, a lot of challenges out there. And then the other part, it was the infancy of having to spend money in research and development at select sires. And so there was a lot of infighting and there was a lot of challenging. And elevation became the political magnet that kept all of those people working together. And it's simply like being at a poker table and everybody, trying to give direction and where they want their company to go. And some of them were upset and angry because it wasn't going their direction. But they weren't willing to leave the table because they would lose their elevation allocation. And the bull was that valuable and that dominant in terms of why organizations decided to stick it out. And elevation also gave the capital then to design the bull program here at Select Sires, and that really launched Select Sires into an era of growing its bull program, of developing its program, and it was really the changing point of where an idea became reality and Select Sires became a real viable company. So that, in my mind, was the major turning point for this organization. That's easy for me. It's the people. And our brand promise is your success, our passion. And the people that you'll meet across the entire federation are very, very passionate about this industry. They're very passionate about good cattle. Their background is very similar to mine in growing up on a registered dairy or beef operation. And they're people that really want to help their customers. And in the other way, in many of the sectors that you go to, those people are the very best at what they do. So our real strength is our people, but our real challenge then becomes our people, because as those people get towards the twilight of their careers, we have to replace them with those people that are going to change the industry for the next generation. Well, our history is littered with outstanding people, and it's whether you're talking about those that, like our SAR department, that a lot of the breeders and people know, and you're looking at John Hecker and the Charlie Wills and the Rick Verbeeks and the Jeff Zieglers, Ron Long included in that. Those are highly known people. The people that people don't get to see as often are a lot of the tools that are used today for evaluating semen quality were developed by Cliff Marshall. Cliff just retired as our vice president in terms of quality control. And he's being replaced by Melda Jarnett, who trained under Cliff. And it is those kind of people that have not only elevated Select Sires, but also helped elevate the industry by providing tools to other people. And whether it's in our communications department or in all those places, we have some really outstanding people. Dr. Don Monkey would be another one that people wouldn't know about, but he helped negotiate a lot of the international trade protocols that we're now able to trade semen out of the United States fairly freely to a lot of countries around the world. Now we have to meet those biosecurity responsibilities here, but having guys like that, manage your facilities and people like that to make sure your quality control, and then I think our bull program speaks for itself. But there are people all through the Federation, whether it's our people at the 9-member co-ops, just really some outstanding people. And you got to meet our evaluators at the Select Sires Evaluator Conference this year we held in Toronto, Canada, and it was 160 people from around the world. They're as good a cow people as I think that are out there. Really, it's a deep bench, so you hate to single out, this person or that, but so that would be the kind of people that I think we have in this organization. Well, as we look to the next 50 years, it is making sure what are those tools and vehicles that are going to make the commercial dairy producer the most money. And I think the big challenge in the whole agricultural industry is by 2050 we have to double food production. But that's not really the challenge, because the real challenge is, one, you have to double food production while you reduce carbon emissions. You have to do it there's only 7% more arable land in the world, so you have to double food production on that arable land. You have to reduce the use of water, fertilizer, and pesticides, because water is becoming more of a scarcity. And then on the other side, you also have to do it in a way that is acceptable to the consumers. And so you have to apply technologies that are going to allow us to double food production while reducing our carbon footprint and making us more eco-friendly. and doing it in a way that everybody accepts. So it's really a huge challenge, and that's why I think genetics is so exciting, is because it is a way to reduce that carbon footprint and maximize the ability for farms. And so as I look at select sires going forward, I think that is our challenge in continuing to look for how we deliver genetic progress, both in the temperate climates and in the tropical climates. We have to start looking at how do those people become more self-sufficient in food production and yet be good to their environment. Well, the ART program was started and is currently being used to develop lines that are a bit outcrossed to what people are producing today. And I think the real challenge going forward is going to continue to be inbreeding. And it represents between 25 and 30% of the bulls we bring in. But we have very strong partnerships with breeders to bring in a majority of the bulls that we bring in. And if you look at the top end of our lineup, a lot of those are breeder developed bulls, and we're going to continue to work at those relationships, try to strengthen those relationships to do a better job in the future. And so while we continue to feel that ART is an important part of our program, we're going to continue to have very strong relationships with our seed stock producers, because we think in this whole era of inbreeding, that's going to be an important part of what we do. Well, as I look at this whole what's the cheapest concept, I think that whole area of discussion is changing, because I think in these large herds, herd owners are able to see the value of genetics within their own herd. And it used to be hidden in smaller operations because, one or two cows that maybe didn't have high genetics that were performing well. But when you get into large herds, you have that population of numbers, and those producers are seeing the value of genetics, and they're starting to realize that they have to get the very best that they need. And I think it's going to be that reality of larger herds and new tools to examine that's going to help that whole discussion. And there's no question that the data is accurate on the genetic evaluations and the improvement that it makes in herds. And I think now with these large herds, it's going to be a lot easier to show them by segmenting out their herd mates, and even with some of the genomic tools and genomic testing, the value of genetics. So I think that whole discussion is starting to change. And I think competition will always keep it very reasonable in terms of price. And if you look at price of seed corn versus the price of semen from the time you and I were in high school and college, seed prices have went up 4 or 5-fold, and yet semen prices are actually cheaper today than they were 35 years ago. So, as you look at that, it's pretty clear that competition is good, but at the same time, I think these large commercial producers and really professional dairy producers are looking at better genetics, and that's starting to change a bit. Well, I think the real strong message, to send home is part of the success goes back to our farmer-directed board. And we've had an amazing group of leaders in our organization, and an amazing group of leaders on our board of directors. And we're owned by over 40,000 dairy and beef producers that own the 9-member co-ops in this country. We're proud to be a cooperative, and we're also proud to pay back patronage dividends to those cooperative members every year. And I think it's part of our heritage that's allowed us to continue to grow and be successful in good times and in difficult times. And our board has really stressed that we have to be an outstanding company in providing outstanding genetics. We also have to be an outstanding company in terms of fertility. But they've also recognized the ups and downs of the market and have made sure that we want to take care of good people and make this a place that good people want to work. And I think it's that leadership from the board and our cooperative ownership that have really helped us continue to excel through the last 50 years.